Alright guys, let's move on. So before we move on with the chat activity, I'd like to show you something that I couldn't in the last video. It's the online feature. So I have another phone running with me. I tried to project it, but it's giving issues. But either way, I'm on the users activity on that phone, as well as on the emulator, as you can see here. If I go into the main activity, you notice that the icon shows up, which is exactly what we want. And even in our database, this is the user, Muganda, and you can see it says true. So that's working perfectly, which is good. And I'm glad that I'm able to demonstrate it finally. Now let's move on with today's work. So the last thing we did in the chat activity was we saw that the custom action bar had worked, but it was also giving us a bit extra. It was giving us the word square. Now I'm not entirely sure where that square was coming from, but we can create a very simple workaround. So by saying action bar.set title and just putting empty quotes, that square should disappear because that was the title. So yeah, that's a little hack that will solve that issue and will allow us to now make the widgets to be dynamic. So let's first open it just to take a look. Here it is. So now what we want is to show, instead of username, online, and this default image, the actual name, whether they're online or not, and their actual compressed image. So let's go ahead and do that. Close others, and I'm going to make those variables first. So private text view, I'll call it bar username and bar online, followed by private circle image view bar avatar. Alright, and then here at the bottom I'm going to go ahead and initialize. So bar username is equals to find view by id r.id.username, and I'll duplicate this twice and change this to online, and this to avatar, and bar avatar is what I called it. Okay, now since we have the recipient ID, we could go into the database and check which username matches up to that recipient ID and set the text, set this by username's text. But that's a network call, and those should always be avoided if we can, and we are going to avoid it in this case by simply going to the profile activity and getting the username from there, since we already queried it in that activity. So what we'll do is very simply, we just have to make this global so that it can be seen inside the certain click listener. And to do that, we just get rid of the string here, and we come up and put that username here, username string. So string, UID, and username string are now global variables, or UID was already a global variable, and now username string is as well. It gets initialized in here, and we're going to use it again here. So I'll duplicate this line, and I'll change this to user, and this to username string. Okay, next thing, I'm going to go over to my chat activity and actually get that. So bar username dot set text to username string. Let's create it. So here next to recipient ID, username string, and here where I've initialized recipient ID, I'll duplicate and username string, and then just change this to user, and that's it. Okay, next thing is bar online. So for this one, we actually have to enter the database. There's no escaping it. So here I can come, okay, let's put it next to this. Private database reference root, and I'll initialize it here. root is equals to Firebase database dot get instance dot get reference, and I can use it down here. So root dot child users dot child recipient ID dot child online, no, sorry, not the child, dot add value event listener, add value event listener, new value event listener. Let's terminate first. So within the on data change, I'm going to get the value of online, the online entry. So string online is equals to data snapshot dot get dot child, not dot get, dot child online dot get value dot to string, and simply if online dot equals true, then bar online dot set text to be online. So essentially we're checking whether the online is, we're checking what the value of online is, and we have to pass it as a string because that's the default. And if it's equal to true, then we set the text to online, else, or actually to make our work easier, I can by default set it to not online. So bar online right under here dot set text to not online. So it will always be not online, but once we see that they are indeed online, then it will change. Okay, that's the first one. Next one is the image view. So for this, we've done it many times. We just use Picasso. So first let's get ourselves that link. Image link is equals to data snapshot dot child, and which is the child. Let's take a look. Compressed image. See if I can copy that. I can't find. I'll stop being lazy. Compressed image dot get value dot to string, and then very simply Picasso dot get dot load image link dot placeholder r dot drawable dot nif, and finally dot into, and then we simply have to tell it to put it into bar avatar, and that is it. Okay, let's quickly just test so far. Alright, here it is running. I went ahead and navigated to Muganda's profile, so now let's click message and see what we get. And there it is. It has Muganda at the top, it has not online, and he doesn't have an image, so that's fine. It should show that. Now let me see if I get online what will happen. And there we go, it changes immediately to online. Wonderful. Okay, so one last test that I will do. I'm going to go to my database and I'm going to go to John's profile and take his image link. So let's copy that and we will give it to Uganda Okay, and if we go back to the app, excellent, it just changed and it gave us the image. So everything is working, the image, the text view, and the online. Right, so the next step is to now actually send a message using this. And since that is a bit of work, even though this video isn't particularly long, I'll still just stop here and we can do that in the next one.